For many years, we've traveled the world making wildlife programs for the BBC.
What an amazing animal.
My name's Chris Packham.
I'm Liz Bonin.
And that's a lion-tailed macaque.
I'm Steve Batshaw.
Oh, not the ear. Woo-hoo.
And I'm Gordon Buchanan.
Oh, look at that.
We may have spent a lot more time on home turf lately. But it's given us a chance to reflect on just how incredible some of those wild adventures were. And we want to share some of these memories with you.
Go, 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 go.
The close encounters, grueling expeditions,
Oh, I don't believe it.
the amazing discoveries,
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
and career-defining moments.
I've just asked the wild bear for a kiss.
We'll also hear from those behind the cameras about just what it takes to capture the natural world in all its wonder. Join us as we look back on our wildlife encounters in India, Bhutan, and Bangladesh, lands that tigers roam and a host of magical species call home.
India holds an incredibly special place in my heart. This is my, look at her, love her face, my great-great-great-grandmother, and this is my great-great-grandfather. Both born in India. They were born in a village called Lachmanpur in Uttar Pradesh, in the north of the country. And the older I get, the more proud I get of my Indian blood. She looks like a fierce individual. Maybe I got my stubbornness from her.
I've spent many years studying wildlife, but every time I return to India, I discover something new. And nothing could have prepared me for the remarkable wildlife event I experienced in a rather unremarkable village in Rajasthan.
This is Kitchen, and it's known as the village of the cranes. Every year, tens of thousands of birds migrate here from their breeding grounds in the steppes of Eurasia and Mongolia. And it's not just the watering holes that border this village that draw the birds here. The people play an integral part in the lives of these elegant birds.
Each day, in winter, the residents fill the village's main square with food for the weary travelers.
There's something really emotive about watching them fly overhead. This fluid, coordinated movement. Oh, it's just beautiful.
It all started because a couple there were feeding pigeons, and then 100 cranes arrived, and now there's tens of thousands of them that arrive in this beautiful, coordinated aerial dance.
It might sound a bit like a cacophony when they're all together, and there is a real order to it all. God, look at that. It started off ever so gently, and now it's really kicking off. That's extraordinary.
On that morning, we had to get up really early, something like 4 o'clock in the morning, to get to the location and set ourselves up in time for this incredible spectacle. I'd never seen anything like it. It was the perfect wake-up call.
I'm so impressed with how orderly this all is. They don't all land en masse to feed. There's this sort of controlled movement of the birds outside the enclosure, and then the front bit takes off, circles overhead, and lands on the outside of the already feeding birds. And they're doing this in stages. It could be pandemonium, but it's not. It's incredibly civilized and orderly. I completely underestimated how extraordinary and eye-opening this is going to be. This flock acts like a well-oiled machine. No call, no movement is made by accident, and even the subtlest change in behavior moves through the flock like a ripple. This has to be seen to be believed.
It's one of these rare human other animal symbiotic relationships. Normally we talk about wildlife, two species in wildlife working perfectly to benefit each other. But here, humans are helping the cranes out by feeding them. And the cranes, by being fed, don't feed on the crops in the surrounding farms and also allow this very small village to get an income from the tourists, from the visitors that come to see the spectacle just like we did.
Severam Mali Pariha helped to put out the daily feed for the visiting cranes.
How many cranes were there at the beginning compared to how many there are now?
पहले कितने चिड़िया थे और अभी
82 और 83 में उस टाइम 5000 की संख्या थी। पिछली साल थी 20000, इस बार है 23000।
So how much grain do you put out every day?
1500 किलो per day।
That is a lot. So how do they pay for this?
पूरा गांव के जैन लोग।
The people of Kitchen are mostly members of the Jain community. And a central belief of their religion is that animals and people should be treated with equal respect.
And you go beyond just feeding them, is that right? I saw some newspaper clippings about telephone wires or electricity wires.
Yes. खाना तो आप डालते हो, लेकिन इसके अलावा और क्या करते हो आप?
मेरा काम है घायल पक्षियों को बचाने का। जितनी भी घायल हो रही है, उनको बचाना है या पक्षियों के लिए जैसे कोई अतिक्रमण कर रहा है या इलेक्ट्रिसिटी वाले जो पक्षियों के लिए जाल बचा रहे हैं, तो उसको मैंने कोर्ट में लड़कर उस चीज को हटाना है।
Why go through all of that?
ये आप क्यों करते हो? मतलब छोटी बात तो नहीं है इतने बड़े-बड़े कंपनी के साथ लड़ना।
मेरा एक शौक है।
Do you ever get tired of this every morning, this incredible spectacle?
कभी भी नहीं थका।
Now, of course, there are still issues with wildlife protection in India. They have a massive problem with poaching, there is pollution, there is still conflict. But in those places where you get the chance to experience that reverence, those interactions between humans and wildlife that work, where you really get a sense of people taking responsibility for the nature that gives them so much. It's a beautiful thing to observe.
Dawn in Rajasthan. It's a truly unforgettable experience. Unbelievably beautiful. Listening to all the dawn chorus, the water birds down on the lake chatting away. It's something that you never get tired of. I always knew that I wanted to be involved in wildlife in some way. Wildlife camera work is something that just I picked up, I guess, when I was more in my sort of mid-20s. The phone rang. A very well-known producer, Mike, and he said to me, I'm making a film in India and I wonder if you'd be interested in being involved. And I was going, oh yeah, and what's it about? It's a tiger film. Teach me really about tigers. I had a friend, Salim, who was with me, who I met out there.
Let's go, come on. Let's keep moving. Let's get a bit closer.
It's a truly unforgettable experience. Our challenge was to find one animal that was at an interesting stage in its life cycle. And then came two male cubs. One was called Slantir and one was called Broken Tail. There was always something very special about Broken Tail. He had this little feature, a kink in his tail. And so he's the one that we always sort of noticed first. Always seemed to be the more boisterous one, the more adventurous one. As a wildlife cameraman, you have to sort of maintain a certain air of detachment. There's an unwritten rule that you don't interfere with what you're filming. But I must admit, when it came to Broken Tail, I was not able to keep a level of detachment. No, I fell head over heels and madly in love with Broken Tail. And I don't think anyone had spent as long with the tiger family as we had in those days, day in, day out, for several years, really.
I think I knew Broken Tail as well as I knew my own daughters.
Suddenly, when they were about 20 months old, the family split up overnight. It wasn't long before I came to know that Slantir had been shot that night by a poacher. Matchley's behavior, Broken Tail's behavior changed completely after that. They became incredibly evasive and elusive.
And I never saw him again. Where? Broken Tail? Where is he?
An email came into my inbox then one day about a year later. I opened it up and it was from a journalist who had photographed a tiger that had been killed by a train about 200 kilometers from Ranthambore National Park. And lo and behold, when I looked at that photograph, I realized it was Broken Tail. He was in the prime of his health when he was struck by that train. How did he get from this sort of tiger paradise to this place where he died? And that's when my old friend, my old tiger filming friend Salim and I decided to get a couple of horses and go through the mountains of Rajasthan to try and understand what Broken Tail had gone through on his journey.
Wouldn't mind jumping in there myself.
I'm picking up some of it, but I can't get it all.
He's saying there, about 3 or 4 kilometers from that village, Manak Chowk, there is a small bridge of the small Nala, and there is a water hole.
Yeah.
He was coming back from the Bundi, and he saw a tiger crossing a road, and he gets shocked, you know. It was very close to his motorbike, and
अब वो देख लो रोड के ऊपर बड़े सही अंदाज से चल रहा था वो.
His big tiger is walking in the royal style.
Like he owns the place. He Broken Tail puts the Royal and Royal Bengal tiger. Do you think he stopped at the water hole?
ने जब उसको देखा था वो पानी पे जा रहा था, पानी
पास में था उसके.
You don't see that.
He turned around and got out of there.
Run away.
ऊपर करीबन 10 किलोमीटर तक सांस नहीं खाए
And for 10 kilometers, he's feeling like he's having a loose motion.
I'm not surprised.
Namaskar ji.
Ram Ram Sahib. Dhanyavad.
That's the thing about India. People do have a great respect for living things. Can you imagine in Europe allowing a great predator to wander freely around the country? Wouldn't happen.
How the heck did he get across here?
Oi, oi.
Never seen anything like this in India before, Salim. I can't imagine him swimming across this, can you?
No.
I'd say he got here, went down some sort of riverbed, tracked along it, and came to some shallow area.
There must be some shallow areas. We should go and see that.
Poor old horses, though. They haven't enjoyed this rocky ground. Wouldn't want to push them too much more.
Either we can walk and...
You can walk? I've only ever seen you walk your car.
We came to realise there was a lot more habitat out there than we had actually imagined. And we also came to realise that, of course, young men area. And so he had just started wandering and had gotten himself into more and more trouble.
And does he remember the tiger being killed by the train here?
वो टाइगर जो ट्रेन से कट के मारा था उसका पता है? अच्छा अखबार से पता चला आप देखने नहीं गए फिर उसको? There is old lady in the village, Dara village. They might have seen tiger when they come to collect the wood.
Is she still around or can we find out?
उसका क्या नाम था वो?
देख और बोलो अच्छा कर फिर मैं तो लकड़ियां तो पटकी मां पा गया टिकाड़ी तो लकड़ियां को मां थे तोड़ी ना चटी ये तोड़ी
I think I can. She was out wood cutting, picking sticks off the ground, and when she cracked one.
She cracked one of the stick and tiger heard that
And
because tiger was not expecting this lady. So suddenly he heard sound and he's shocked to see them. So he ran away and she ran away. They says we really felt very bad when we get to know about the tiger being killed because he never make any harm and is such a beautiful animal. He says we trust that tiger like we can trust a human in a house.
Can these ladies put a date on when they last saw him?
She knows when the tiger killed by the train here. In the daytime, she saw him, and next morning they found him dead.
So you were the last person to see Broken Tail alive, probably? This is the same chain of hills that stretches all the way to Ranthambore. 200 miles long. And this is where Broken Tail ended up. Every so often you can hear a train. It's quite a busy train track. He knew that sound so well, but he didn't know to avoid them. He hadn't learned that lesson. Travelled so far, he must have learned so much. And even for me, it was quite a journey. But he sort of did it all by himself. He'd no mate. That's kind of sad. But to have made it this far, it was some tiger. It really was some tiger. What number did that guy say?
He said this is between 870 and 871.
This could have been the very spot where he came down.
870. This was the place, Colin. He jumped out from here and fall down here.
Why didn't he just jump up there?
He tried to save himself. Maybe he don't have enough time or...
I've seen tigers jump walls that high. Many times.
They do that.
Just think after all he went through, after his journey, after all the hardships he must have faced, generally, in life. Pity that it all ended here.
I should do some puja at the memory of...
His legacy will remain forever, I think, because it was really Broken Tail and the fact that he had made that journey and died in that place that led to the establishment of Rajasthan's third Project Tiger Reserve. So that gives me a real sense of satisfaction that his death was not in vain. Still, I get sad when I think about him, but yeah, his death was not in vain, that's for sure.
The Sundarbans. But what a place. It was so beautiful, so tranquil. The sunrises and sunsets across the river and the mud were just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Tiger, tiger burning bright in the forests of the night. The forests of the night. That's what we think about when we think of tiger territory. It's those thick, dry, or sometimes wet, tropical jungles. What we don't think of when we think of tiger habitat is mud. But strangely, that can be tiger habitat. Marginal habitat, it might be. But if there are tigers there, you've got to go and look for them. We took the unusual step of chartering of mammals, birds, and crustaceans. This rich mix of wildlife exists within a perfectly balanced ecosystem. It's all built rather... the worst possible sequences of tigers ever filmed because they were just glimpses in a swamp. But sometimes it's not about a full frontal encounter. Sometimes it's about being enveloped by the experience. And given the mud, we had an enveloping experience with a tiger on top. That was... For me, when I see a tiger in the wild, in its environment, I find it a humbling experience because I know full well that on the ground, I'm just prey, potentially just prey. And I think it's really good to have that context sometimes because we do tend to think that we are the be-all and end-all of everything. And when you're up against a tiger, you're not.
In many parts of India where I've had the chance to film, I've really noticed this will to coexist with nature, to live in harmony with it in a way that doesn't really happen in many other parts of the world. And I've always tried to figure out what that might be about. Whether it's maybe down to their ancient religions that often involve gods and deities that are associated with animals, and whether that's sort of trickled through to their culture and to the way they perceive animals. But also, it must be down to the fact that India is a country so rich in wildlife that hasn't been eradicated through its history. In the UK, for example, we got rid of our wolves in the 1700s, our bears and our lynx in medieval times. And so there's been this big gap in our history where we just haven't been connected to these big charismatic animals that we've had to figure out how to live alongside. And maybe that's the difference between a country like the UK and a country like India.
I embarked on a filming trip to the Western Ghats a few years ago. It's an area that's home to more than 300 endangered species, and the locals there were doing everything they could to cling on to one of their rarest, the lion-tailed macaque. They're thought to be one of the ancestors of all Asian macaques. But with fewer than 4,000 now left in the wild, they're one of the most endangered species in the world today. Wildlife cameraman Kalyan Varma was one of those helping to protect the local population.
They're just coming from the morning roost.
Wow, look at... Oh, he's so handsome.
Oh, look at that hand.
They're definitely used to cars anyway.
Oh, wow, look at this. It's just very curious about us.
I don't do it too. Well, good morning. Oh, that's a lion-tailed macaque.
But this endangered species was facing a new human-made threat. Their home in the rainforest canopy was being cut down to make way for tea plantations, forcing them to share their space with humans and traffic.
I've got lion-tailed macaques above me to my right. This beautiful female behind me. And I can't quite believe just how close I am to a mother and infant. Two, oh my God, this is unbelievable. There are 3 females in this troop with very young infants hanging onto their bellies. There's one there, there's another one there, and there was another female over there with an infant up in the tree.
To see them walking alongside the traffic, inhaling all these fumes, all the pollution, it was a difficult thing to see, even though I was so thrilled to set eyes on them because they are so rare.
The lion-tailed macaques faced daily threats from the busy traffic, so the community stepped in to try and make it safer for them to cross the roads by building bridges made from fire hoses.
How much of a difference has this made to casualties and fatalities?
Oh, it's quite a bit. I think a lot of them, especially the young ones, love using this. It's the older ones that are on the road mostly. So the young ones definitely like the protection of the bridges.
Right.
But once in a while, some of these alpha males are taken out of the rest of the territory. So you see one alpha male sitting in there, being a bully, not letting anyone pass through.
So it's no longer a bridge, it's the alpha male's territory.
Absolutely. They like those places. You know, they get a vantage point, all this traffic going underneath them.
But what I'm loving is that not only do you have these bridges, you've also got those 2 guys with the signs to slow the traffic down.
Yeah.
So the will is there. There's a lot of effort being put into protecting your remaining monkeys.
Yes. And, you know, this population is one of the largest single population. So we are hoping that as this population grows, eventually they'll colonize other forest fragments in this landscape.
Even though the balance between humans and animals wasn't perfect, I was really moved to see the efforts of the community to both protect and to live alongside this rare species.
I really didn't expect to get this close to these macaques. I mean, I suppose we're used to seeing monkeys climbing over cars these days, but these are lion-tail macaques. And the only reason this has been possible is because a very tiny proportion of the remaining population have adapted and they've become habituated to humans. And that's the reason why we came here. And it's totally been worth it.
Bhutan is a place that's very dear to my heart. You have the Himalayas to the north, and to the south you have India. It has enormous areas of pristine forest, and then cut through that whitewater rivers, many of which have never been paddled before, and the highest unclimbed mountains in the world. It's pretty much a perfect place to go on expedition. This is one of my most treasured possessions. It's an old monastery door from Bhutan. It has this extraordinary dragon image emblazoned on the front of it. Bhutan is known as the land of the thunder dragon, and that is that thunder dragon in full effect. It was an amazing feeling to be puzzled of a viable corridor for tigers moving across the south of the Himalayas. A big part of that problem was knowing how high tigers can go and how high they can live. And so I was going to be heading up to try and see if there was any evidence of those big cats, of tigers there in the foothills of the Himalayas. If they were there, there could be a perfect tiger corridor that would run all the way through the north of Bhutan. As far as knowledge of tigers go, this part of the Himalaya hasn't been explored by anybody. So any information we can find up here is going to be massively valuable. You have to be able to put yourself into the mind of a tiger to be able to stand any chance of following them. And that's one of the great things about tracking. Tracking is a detective story. You're turning yourself into a wildlife Poirot, looking at the signs that have been left behind and deducing from them what's happened. On this main track that we've been walking on, all of the tracks that are left behind are from the shod hooves of horses and donkeys. This here, this kind of chute running down the hillside is very, very steep, and it's not made by domestic animals. This is definitely coming from wild animals. So there you can see a very definite cloven hoof, slightly splayed because it's going uphill on a soft surface, but that is from a sambar deer. It's the largest deer found around here and the favourite prey of the tiger. And it's really, really good news for us because this is exactly the kind of large prey that tigers need. I mean, they'd need to eat something the size of a sambar deer probably at least once a week. This discovery was going to turn our whole mission on its head. So we had come up to try and find evidence of tiger, but the snow leopard is the holy grail of wildlife filmmaking. It's the animal that everyone wants to see. I've never seen one. And here suddenly was my big opportunity. The only way that I could think of that I had any chance of filming these animals was to sit out there myself I knew that I couldn't take the crew because, you know, one person there was probably going to be too much anymore, and you just, you know, completely forget about it. I knew that my chances were 1,000,000 to 1, but if I'd stayed in my tent, they would have been 0. So I figured, what have I got to lose? That's the blue sheep that was killed last night. I've put myself in under a rocky overhang so that my back's protected and nothing can come of me from behind. Can't pretend I'm not scared. I am. I guess after about 4 hours, all of a sudden, everything changed. I heard a sound that I will never forget. Just over my shoulder, there was a snarl, like a panther in a Tarzan movie. A kind of meow kind of snarl, and then a bunch of little stones bounced down alongside me, and then silence. And all of a sudden, I was a frightened little boy, all alone in the darkness, knowing that there was at least one big cat out there somewhere. And I lost it. I have never... It was a tough day at the office. My snow leopard quest had led me on a road to nowhere, and I didn't find any proof of tigers living on the mountains either. Our whole expedition in Bhutan was, I think, one of the best that I've ever been on. It's been one of the ones where we most felt that we could make a difference, that we could discover something new, and that we could be a part of a bigger picture. I, for my part, felt like my role was mostly a failure because I found so little real evidence. What we really needed was to get these animals on camera.
When you spend time in the Himalayas at the top of the world, there are physiological things that are going on in your body. But there's something for me very dreamlike about walking through that environment that you kind of felt that you had to pinch yourself. Is the world really this beautiful? Can these mountains be this high? Just as an arena, that sort of visual spectacle of that landscape, that place is so, so special. I find in many ways doing this job is like never really growing up. You know, when I was a kid, you know, I wasn't running about with a camera looking for animals, but I was kind of doing similar stuff back then as I'm doing now. Getting to know the natural world and sort of trying to kind of understand it or interact with it. And that doesn't really matter whether you're kind of, you know, a kid, you know, lifting up a sheet of corrugated iron to find out if there's an adder or a slow worm under there, or whether you're exploring the Himalayas looking for one of the world's biggest predators. The objective in Bhutan was pretty straightforward. It was to get evidence of tigers living at high altitude, if indeed they were living at high altitude.
Steve had had his go. Now it was my turn to try and find proof of tigers high up in the Himalayas.
We're heading up further into what is snow leopard territory, but I am really intrigued to see if we can find evidence of tigers beyond this. I would be amazed if there are tigers living up here. If they are here, they've adapted to live at this elevation because, you know, tigers are supposed to be way down there.
There had always been rumours of tigers here at high altitudes, but an expedition had never captured one on camera before.
I haven't seen anything. The things I'm looking for, first thing I'll be looking for is the prey. What are the tigers feeding on up here? But in absence of that, looking for their tracks along this sort of loose, dusty soil. Tigers, when they're patrolling, they make these scrapes on the ground, they urinate against bushes, you can smell that. They scratch on trees. There is None of that. I haven't seen one piece of evidence that backs up the rumours that there are tigers up here. And I keep on telling myself, these are rumours that there are tigers here, but there are also rumours in Bhutan that there are yetis. So I'm beginning to sort of wonder whether, they're here at all.
What we kind of realised with this challenge of finding cats up in the Himalayas was a kind of numbers game to get as many camera traps as possible and put them in as many places as we could.
All ready to go. Good luck.
That's that thing of trying to put your mind into the mind of a tiger, is thinking, okay, I'm on this sort of mountain ridge. If I was a tiger, if I was living up here, where would I go?
You ratbag it is.
Oh, wow. No wonder hardly anybody sees these cats. They're just so well camouflaged. You could literally walk past that within 4 meters and not see it easily. It looks like it's a cub. And the reason it's staying there for such a long time, I'm guessing, is that its mother has left it there while she's gone off hunting.
Steve had come so close to a snow leopard, and here was the proof that they prowled these mountains.
Oh, it's come right up to the camera. That is one of the most exquisite looking animals I've ever seen.
A beautiful snow leopard. But no sign of tigers on our first camera traps. I was losing hope fast. And then the floodgates opened, and we saw several different tigers captured on other camera traps. It was more than we could ever have hoped for.
The moment that I saw that first shot of the tiger, I had this sort of upwelling of emotion. Came from lots of different sources. It was relief that we'd achieved our objective, relief that all of the kind of the team's sort of collective efforts hadn't been for nothing. But the biggest sense of relief and gratitude was that finding tigers up at those elevations was really significant for their future survival. It wasn't a myth, it wasn't a rumour. These big cats are prowling these mountains at the top of the world. It's pretty remarkable.
It's adventures like this, along with many others, that make me realise just how precious our amazing natural world is.
Another amazing watch charting the rise of the continents, beginning with Africa, here tomorrow afternoon at 2:15. Is there anybody out there? The Sky at Night on the search for extraterrestrial life, tonight at 10 on BBC 4.